Oh, I'm just gonna fuck around with some ideas and write some ideas down. Uh, okay, we'll start off with something easy. We'll do like China and then U.S. and then we'll break from there. Yeah, that'll work. That'll be a good entry point. It'll be very mainstream. How do you want to do this? I guess I'll do it like that. I don't know. Why do things fight? Story one. China and the U.S. must fight. Okay, so using a World War One analogy of Britain and France, Britain and Germany. Sorry, there's a famous word for it. I don't remember. It's two things grow, they intersect. USA, World War Two. Okay, we'll do it like this. World War Two. USA, and this is today. The United States was half of GDP, and then it went like down to 20. It's like 20 now. Used to be 50. And then China used to be nothing. And then in the 90s, they got bicycles. In the 90s, they got bicycles. And now they have EVs, and they have like more cars than America probably. Something ballpark like that. And this point right here is the point of like where people fight. That's something I've heard. I'm not making that up. That's someone else's idea. So this is where the branching concept comes from. I'll try and see where I can go from here. I thought I had a better idea. I don't. So story one. Story one. Why can't everybody in the world just get along? I don't know. There's a reason for that probably. Why? So this is we're gonna call this temperatures of water. Call this this is the U.S. It's really full. Here's Europe. It's like 80% full. Here's like Africa is like 20% full. Here's like Asia is like 30% full. And then China, I guess it's a zero-sum game. If you want to play zero-sum, China's now gotten bigger. Well, you got Japan and whatever. It's more complicated than that. China used to be a joke. They used to ride bicycles in the 90s, and now they have EVs. So I'm trying to. So with globalism, you would take all these and you'd say, hey, let's just turn it into one thing. So let's say everybody gets 50%. I'm making the number up here. It's very similar to communism or something. I mean, I'm not arguing for or against this. I'm merely trying to. It's like all the world turns into one Walmart. Every city becomes the same. All the countries become the same. You might call that globalism or something. I don't know. I don't really know. I'm not really here to. In this system, the United States, in World War II, they made all their own steel, and then everybody stopped making steel, and then the United States became all service industry. It became like, if there was any money in the United States, it was Facebook, Amazon, the tech companies. They didn't make metal anymore. They didn't make blah blah blah. Or at least it went down a lot. And then they all sent it all over to China. Blah 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 blah. You all know this story. I'm not telling you something new. So everybody becomes 50%. The Middle East makes oil. Colombia makes cocaine and coffee. Everybody specializes in what they're good at based on geography. China has mass people. They don't have the best resources. The United States has like a middle thing of all resources. They've got Iowa, and then they've got the West, and they've got all these different resources. All the different. There's some oil in Alaska and Texas and California. I'm not here to. You can go look at a map and figure this stuff out, probably. Okay, so instead, the world is going to turn into. Everybody's going to become at least. There's two major. Okay, we'll call it. What will we call it? I'm going to make this up as I go. Regional blocs. There needs to be a Cold War. It's going to be Cold War 2.0. That's not my idea. Regional blocs. We'll get your own resources from your regional bloc. If the United States plays this correctly, here's the thing. A lot of people don't know this. The GDP of Soviet Union was always like 30 to 50% of the U.S. So when people were like the United States and the Soviet Union were peers, not really. The U.S. always had like way more GDP, but they don't really tell you that part. And then in the 80s, they were like, hey, the Russians have these new special weapons, and they were like spending 15% of their money on GDP, of their GDP on their army. They were already starving to death. They were already having problems, so Reagan just put more problems on their plate, which technically makes them smart, but it's not really the story they tell you. They always made it seem like they were equals. It was always more like, here's the United States, here's Russia, and then Reagan was spending more money, and they're like, we can't spend more money, we're already tapped. You know, they were already tapped, and but that's not really about anything. And then they lose the Warsaw Pact, they lose all their buffer states, and then Russia becomes a whiny little bitch for 10 or 20 years, and then they want their power back. So, regional blocs, USA, maybe the old NATO friends, China versus China, maybe Soviet, Russia, Korea, Iran. See, the advantage of this is, technically, you know, there's better places to make steel, but it makes everybody have to like make stuff within their block. Because you have to be like friends with the countries you're buying stuff from now, and you have to make some of it yourself just so you don't become, you can't buy missiles from China if you're going to war with China, right? Or I don't know, where is this going? This isn't going anywhere. I don't remember what this was about. Oh, it's just ranting. Does there have to be a war with China? Maybe. One of my theories, this is the new theory. This is a new theory I had. It's called the Mr. Ed theory. I've done this joke before, I'll do it again. I have no problem doing jokes over and over. It's called the Mr. Ed theory. This also reminds me, we're going to have to write some other words up here. Actors. Let's get rid of this stuff. Couple stories that are possible. This is actually, there's a couple of interpretations here. Zelensky. I don't know how to spell Zelensky, I'm going to miss it. Zelinsky. Probably misspelled it, the Ukraine guy. Trump. What do these two have in common? Both actors. He was a comedian, actor, singer or something. Comedian, actor, singer. Very supposedly, now here's a good question. Based on the news, he seems like he's doing a good job. Now it could just be fake news, right? I mean, it could be. You know, maybe he's just a puppet head, like a, what's a movie where they have a figurehead who's not, the guy from that Iron Man movie. The one where the guy is just an idiot, played by, what's his name? The Iron Man movie about the rings, and then the one guy Pierce has real power, but then the other guy's just an actor. So story one, Zelensky's just an actor. Story two, he actually did pretty well. I don't know which one's which. Trump, another example, did well in some stuff, did bad in some other stuff, but you know, for being an actor, he's pretty good at politics. You'd have to say he's pretty good at politics, but he is technically a reality TV star host, which I'm putting in the actor category. WWE star. So what is this about? Mr. Ed. Let's put Mr. Ed on here. Mr. Ed is a horse. Mr. Ed was a TV show, black and white, used to come on Nick at Night, and they would take a horse and they would edit the footage. They'd put peanut butter in his mouth, and he'd go, and then they'd be like, the horse would go, I'm a horse. But it was just footage of a horse going, and then they would take a human, put words in his mouth. So the horse was not really speaking, it was a horse with peanut butter in its mouth going, and they would edit the the footage of the lips to go, I'm a horse, I'm do blah 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 blah, but the horse was not really talking, or was it? Okay, this connects maybe. Cynical interpretation. Any actor could technically be a good politician because it's just acting. That's an interpretation. I'm not saying that's true. It could also be a behind the scenes thing. Zelensky is a puppet. Trump is a puppet. Possible. You have to think about it. He could be a puppet. Story 3. I'm not keeping up with the stories here. The world has become overeducated. People know too much stuff about stuff they're not supposed to know stuff about. You've gotten a world where everyone was watching The Daily Show and they don't really understand Iran. They don't understand Middle Eastern politics. They don't understand Asian politics. But they can laugh at Jon Stewart, or they can laugh and they can go, ah, gee shucks, your common sense with I was going to say Bill Maher, but I meant O'Reilly or Tucker Carlson or whoever. You get your little laughs from your interpretation of the news. You have an overeducated group of people laughing at stuff they don't understand, or they're incapable of doing. The worst is when a person laughs at something they're not capable of doing. So we've got a situation where a large amount of people don't understand what they're doing. They're similar to Mr. Ed. Their mouths move. They don't understand the words that are coming out of their mouth. They've just had peanut butter put in their mouth. That's another interpretation. That would be called interest. Do you really have an interest? Do I have an interest in Iran? Do I understand Iran? Do I care about Iran? How do you spell interest? I-N-T-E-R-E-S-T. Why do I care about Iran or China? Or it's for professionals, someone who's spent time doing something in that realm. I don't know. I don't even know where Iran is. So you have an overeducated, but not really overeducated. You have horses talking. I'm calling the American public horses now. The American public is a bunch of horses who do not have interest in the horse race, but they think they know what they're talking about. This is anti-democratic, isn't it? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just going to write words on the board and act smart. Is that the end of this thing? I don't know. I thought this was actually really interesting. I thought the whole actor thing was really interesting just because, I think that's more interesting than people realize. That this is the age of something's going on. Someone's in control. The director is in control. Some of these people are just actors, I think, is my suspicion. I think there's something going on behind the scenes. I can't entirely tell. Now, to be cynical of that, I could say, haven't the business interests been buying everybody out for a long time? Haven't all the politicians just been actors being paid for and being told what to do by the directors, which were probably the business owners? I don't know. Maybe that could be true. Or is it that they've become so transparent? They've literally got Zelensky, who's an actor. They've literally got Trump, who's an actor. It's become they don't even do the business tie. This isn't George Bush anymore. This is not George Bush wearing a suit and tie, pretending to be folksy. This is, I'm an actor and I admit it. Is it this? I'm hot. I gotta put this fan on me. So what does this have to do with? Oh, I don't know. There's some more jokes in here somewhere. I don't know. Let's see. Is there a thesis in here? Fuck no. The AI is already in control, and they're hiring actors to be politicians. That's a good one. Skynet took over not by killing people, but by hiring all the actors, and it's giving them scripts. I just made that up. That's not true, but it's a cool story. The British took over India, not by using an army. They played people off each other. They played the groups off each other, and they took over all of India. They didn't really use an army that much. They had an army there, but they didn't really use their army. Skynet will have an army, but they'll just play you people off each other because you're a bunch of fucking retards. And, you know, that's a possibility. India, do you want to write that down? Yeah, let's write down India. Skynet takes over the world using India-British model. That's a funny one. Who benefits from these Iran-Ukraine wars? Iran-Ukraine wars. Have you seen the fucking drones in Ukraine? And Iran. Iran's like a second-rate, third-rate power. The United States is a first-rate power. The United States lost over $1 billion worth, one bill of, what are they called? They're not predators. They're not Greyhawks. They're shadows. They're some drone UAV. They lost $1 billion in. They lost $1 billion AWACS. They've spent ballpark $100 billion on this war so far. It's like 40 plus 60. It's like a 40 plus 60. So I'm saying like 100 bill. They've gotten rid of a lot of their 2/3 of their patriots. 2/3 of the patriots, I think. They're going to start mass producing $30,000 drones pretty soon, 30K for some company. The Russians have the Iranian one. I forgot the name. They're like 10 to 50. They're kind of like V1s. They're sort of like a V1, but they're more accurate because they can actually hit shit. If you don't shoot them down, they can take a house out, I guess, and they can take the right house out, which is good. And they're only $10,000 to $50,000, so that's cool. And the United States is going to start mass producing these for 30K, same thing. Sharid, I think they're called Sharids, whatever. I might be missaying that. Shreds. $1,000, 1K to 2K mass-produced anti-personnel drones. I should write cleaner because I'm going to be accused of being insane. 1 to 2K, $1,000, 1,000 to 2,000 anti-personnel drones. These are mass produced, maybe 10, 20, 30,000 a year. They're mass producing these little bombs that fly at you. Who benefits from this? The AI research, Skynet, not Skynet, not like literally Skynet, but Skynet benefits. Data servers, GPU farms, whatever, just a little fun game. Drone, GPU farms. Yeah, so just so we're on the same page. And they're hiring all the actors to be politicians. And they're already in control. That's not really that funny. I mean, it's just a funny idea, though. So, any other ideas? Ooh, I was going to talk about the concept of ownership. So that was just a stupid conspiracy theory. Iran and Ukraine are really about Skynet getting a bunch of GPUs so that, because actually in Ukraine right now, they're building sensory nets that are, because one of the big things in fighting is how fast can you know what your enemy's doing. It's, you know, if you had cameras everywhere and you had a network of cameras, you could detect all behavior instead of like someone looking through it all the time. You'd have like a perfect train of information flow. Like the second something happens, 3 seconds later, the person who needs to know it. The faster the person needs to know it who can make the decision, the faster it's more valuable. You know, it's there's a speed thing here, and then there's also a human bandwidth concept where like humans don't have the bandwidth to handle the current environment. So even if like Ukraine or Russia create their own little mini AIs, it's a big deal for AI because it's an advantage to have that. They call them, I think, kill chains or something, or action chain. So let's call them an action chain so I don't get in trouble. Information is processed. Information is acted on. The faster you can get those two connected, the faster you, there's a person holding a gun to my head, and then you have to call someone. So what do you want me to do? There's a person holding a gun. The faster you can get the action to input. That's not really that funny. It's also a pretty big tangent. I apologize for the tangent. China, America. Does there have to be a war? Probably. I don't know. That's the question I've been asking. Part of me is like, there has to be a war, because like China's being all uppity. Your place is to be China's role in this world is to be the poor people that have like bicycles. They're the people that are like, ha ha, there's a billion Chinese people. I can't name 10 of them. And now they're going to be all uppity. And I'm going to have to learn a bunch of Chinese people's names if I'm going to keep living. Because, in the old days, I didn't have to know Chinese people's names because they didn't matter. And now that their economy is the size of America, I'm going to have to learn Chinese people's names. And I don't want to have to learn Foom Pi Poopy, or Fuck Duke Raka. Even though there's a billion of them, and technically their economy is probably about the same size as the U.S. at this point. Everyone will become, hey, the Chinese Elon Musk? I'll just call him like, hey, the Chinese Bill Gates, the Chinese, I'll just, I don't know any of those people's names. This is going to be a big pain in the ass, because I don't have the mental energy to learn new stuff. I'm lazy. I don't want to learn new stuff. I mean, maybe the robot will do it for me. I can maybe get the robot to do it. So what else is there? Does there have to be a Chinese war with America? Probably. I don't know, maybe. So where does this go? This goes into genetics, because it's also about gut reaction versus taught reaction. Gut reaction versus taught reaction. Versus teaching. Now, this is the interesting question, especially in terms of Zelensky and Trump. My understanding is initially Trump really didn't like Zelensky. I don't know. I know that some right-wing people now like Zelensky, but I still understand there's he's an actor, which is very funny because, the right wing has elected a actor president. They also elected Reagan, which they seem to forget. So I don't really know how the cognitive dissonance is a little, whatever, there's cognitive dissonance everywhere. I'm not here to tell you what cognitive dissonance is. If you don't know what that is, that's your business. Let's say you can teach all behaviors. Let's say everything is teachable. Newton discovered calculus. Your average doctor's kid learns calculus in high school, but your average doctor's kid did not invent calculus, so Newton is like the Neil Armstrong of calculus, right? And but once you learn it, once it's learned, it can be taught to most people, or 20%, 30% of the population, let's say 50% in emergency situations. But before him, no one knew it. Neil Armstrong went to the moon. Now, if you had enough money, technically, you could go to the moon because the technology already exists. You just have to fund it, and you'd have to find the right people, and you'd have to build the rocket. But it's not like, can we go to the moon? It's like, yeah, you can go to the moon. It's just it costs like $10 trillion or something, or 10 billion. I don't know how much it would cost to go to the moon. Ask someone who knows. I'm not a moon expert. So gut reaction, or we call this Neil Armstrong. Did you create it or did you learn it? So this would be like you learned it versus you created it. Now technically Neil Armstrong, I don't know how smart he was. I'm assuming there's supposed to be a movie about like those, they're supposed to be more like hotshot jocks, but I don't know, maybe they're probably pretty smart too. I don't really know if he was really smart or if he was like just like a test pilot sort of character. But for the sake of this, we'll say create, the people like the Columbus, Magellan died. Whatever, the people who do it first. So versus, like everybody I can travel the world, but I'm not like a badass because I can go around the earth, because there's probably been like hundreds of thousands of people who have gone around the Earth at this point. But Magellan, he died, but still technically, I'm going to use him as my example, was the first person to go around the Earth. Or Neil Armstrong was the first person to go to the moon. So we've got a problem here where we've got a lot of people who think they're badasses because they learn stuff, whereas there aren't enough people who have actually done something first. Is that where the problem with society is? Yeah, I think that's what I'm going for here. You could say that. The other possibility is, is your reaction a gut reaction or is it a taught reaction? When you have a reaction, some things are like, you touch, if this was 5,000 degrees, if it was 500, if it was 1,000 degrees and I touched it, I wouldn't think and then take my hand off. I would touch it, I would go, ow. It would be in the DNA of me. It's of me. It's not something I was taught. It's primordial. It's now you can take this and extrapolate it beyond just. You might call that the reptile part of the human body. Like if you accidentally touch something that is 1,000 degrees, you don't think about like, oh, that's hot, and then pull your hand off. It's built into the DNA. Is kind of the thing I'm going for here. Okay, let's see if I can try and make this a little more clear. Society is overfilled. They've overfilled. Society is overfilled. They're talking about this like because I was on YouTube and there was a big thing like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Europe's depopulating. Europe is depopulating. They're importing Muslims. Europe. E-A-U-R. I don't know how to spell Europe. Europe, importing Muslims, not fucking. Japan, same problem. They're not importing Muslims though. Low population. China, neutral. I think they're going down too. Their population is going down because they're not going to meet their requirements, but they have 1 billion people, so it doesn't matter as much. What other countries are there? Europe. I'm counting all of Europe together. China, USA, neutral. USA maybe neutral. Also, you have the Mexicans, but an immigration, yes. And then you have. So what does this come from? It comes from a YouTube video. I didn't even watch the video. Demographic problems. I should pull this back a little bit. Demographic problems. This actually goes counter to my thesis, which is not good. I'll have to figure out a way to fix this. So my thesis was, they're talking about demographics again. They want more people fucking. There's a negative nihilistic impulse in Western society, especially in Europe. The right wing is glorifying Christianity. They're saying like, Notre Dame, you need to bring back Christianity to Europe. Some people in the right wing think that Europe is basically abandonable. It's lost its teeth. Could be true. I mean, it could be because of World War II. That's the reason I always understood. I always understood it was because World War II, they had teeth. They lost all their teeth. You want to grow Europe's teeth back? I mean, maybe. Demographic problems, they're saying the nihilism of demographics. Muslims fuck like rabbits. Let's put that down. Muslims fuck like rabbits. Fuck like rabbits. Think Palestine. Think France probably. I wonder if they fuck like rabbits in France. Britain says the same thing. The cynical interpretation is it's invasion warfare. Could be true, could not be true. I'm not here to tell you. It's not my place. YouTube is now owned by the right wing. All the tech companies tech companies are right-wing propaganda. So when they tell you a message, you have to remember Trump took like 10% or a quarter of NVIDIA. He can shut down Facebook if he wants. He can hurt them. He can tax them. He has the ability to tax. He's made it very clear he will tax. If you piss him off, he will tax you. So it's basically they have to at least be neutral. I would say they at least have to be neutral. Not neutral, but they can't be hardcore. They're probably pro-Trump because they don't want to piss him off, or the Republican Party. So now they are propaganda, so you have to take everything you see in the media, even the left media, as pure propaganda. You always had to take everything as propaganda. I mean, it was always possible that the right wing and left wing were both puppets of the actual elite, but I'm not going to go into that right now. They want you to fuck because they need soldiers in the coming war. So they're selling this demographic problem because, look, first off, they don't want movement. They don't want movement. The system is designed for stagnation, but they need people at the bottom, because you got to fill those trenches. Think Ukraine, think Russia, So that was from watching a YouTube video. Yeah, I mean, I get very paranoid. I don't like. Why would YouTube be? YouTube's not your friend. You people need to realize YouTube's not your friend. It's a business. It's after views. It's after hours of your life. It's a drug dealer. I mean, it is a drug dealer. So what is this about again? It's about, I don't know, do they need people? I think what happened, one of my theories is I just made this one up. They thought they could automate the battlefield, and I don't think they can automate it as much as they want. Because the way the Russian battlefield with Ukraine is working right now, they send 2 Russians in. The Russians find the things, they get blown up by a drone, but they spot the Ukrainians and then they fly a glide bomb in or they fly some drones in. So humans are still part of they still need manpower. So you people need to fuck because they need to send these like 2-man teams in to spot the stuff so they can send the value, because they're not going to use the valuable stuff until they know where it is. The humans need to be used as like the probing. You probe, you find where the hard point is. You throw a glide bomb at it, you throw a drone at it. So you people need to fuck because they need people to probe the lines. I really feel bad for those Russians, by the way. Have you seen those videos of them dying? It makes me very sad to watch. Actually, I sort of laugh because it's like you get to see the last 5 seconds of someone's life. It's actually kind of funny. So where does this go from? Where are we going from here? I think it's going to be Skynet owned by the elites, is what I personally think it's going to be. I don't think Skynet's taking over. I think the elites are going to use Skynet as a way of completely knowing everything. And they're going to create a permanent underclass of retards they use to probe stuff. But whatever, that's not really the point of this, right? What is the point of this? You people need to fuck. Because YouTube's telling me to, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't fuck it unless I was a billionaire and I could. See, I think it's morally irresponsible to have children if you can't protect them. And let me explain this very carefully. Putin is not the exception to this story. He will send 2-man teams out to probe the Ukrainian lines. And Putin is just like every other world leader. They don't want to use the expensive stuff. They use you as the probe, and then they use the expensive stuff to, So when they say they want you fucking, that's my cynical interpretation of this. I think there's going to be a modern day. I'm not going to call it serfdom. I'm going to call it a caste system. There are castes. The drone operators are in a caste. There's going to be castes. There's going to be a return to maybe something like a compartmentalized. Maybe the best analogy would be Warhammer. I never played Warhammer, but I read about it. Like they have compartmentalization of information because they don't want you knowing everything. They're going to want to compartmentalize it. They'll be the people who are the drone experts, but they don't want you to be. They don't want cross movement between branches of stuff. And the drone operators are probably safer than the assault infantry. Because the assault infantry are just getting massacred. But the Russian assault infantry is being massacred. What else? Is there any thesis to any of this? It's just random ideas. Just random ideas. I mean, I could throw this in here just because I think it's a very contrarian idea. I like the contrarianness. Contrarian. I'm fascinated by this word. I think it's one of the most fascinating words ever. British cigarettes. I mean, I'm fascinated by a society that elected an actor as president. You know, the whole concept of it's basically who's in power. If you're in power and someone's trying to take power from you, they are a British cigarette. Because let me explain this to you very carefully. If I was in charge, I wouldn't give a fuck about any of you people. I don't know how you imagine Trump gives a fuck about you. I don't know how you think Obama gives a fuck about you. I don't know how you think YouTube gives a fuck about you. I literally don't understand why you would think anyone in this world but yourself gives a fuck about you. So any of you people who think like Trump's your buddy, I'm rolling my eyes at you. I think you're insane, but I also think you're insane if you think Obama or YouTube or... So I don't know why you're throwing all this power to these people. Putin doesn't give a fuck about you. He'll send you in as a two-man team just so that he can send his glide bombs in to hit the bunkers. You know, I don't know what's going on with this world right now. You guys seem a little crazy. Then again, I'm probably crazy, so... What else do I have? British cigarette. So British cigarette is, how would I explain this? There are rules, and then there's enforcement of rules. There's rules and rules enforcement. There are no rules. There's just rules enforcement. If you can enforce a rule, there's a rule. If you can't enforce the rule and you have to get someone else to enforce it, that's not actually a rule. That just means you're delusional and you think someone else is going to enforce a rule for you. You either have the ability to enforce a rule yourself, or there are no rules. So that's very anarchistic in a way, because I'm basically saying, and I can throw some Old Testament shit in here. There's King David's story. King David's story goes in here. If you're not liked by the king doesn't have to follow the rules with you. He can kind of break the rules with you without breaking them. King David's story. So now we are turning, King David is in charge. Your job is to get King David to like you. You must get King David to like you. Get KD to like you. I'm not here to get a guy to like me. I'm not a gay. I'm not a fucking gay. I don't give a fuck about King David. I'm not here to pay attention to King David. Why the fuck do I have to think about King David? I don't want to give a fuck about Chiang Kai-shek or fucking Mao Zedong. I don't want to give a fuck about any of these people, and you're forcing me to care about people. I don't want to learn Chinese names. I don't want to learn Trump's name. I don't want to learn Putin's name. I don't want to learn where Iran is. I don't want to learn where any of this shit is, and I'm being forced to learn stuff I don't want to learn. Because they're a bunch of... The person in charge is always a... And if you're against them, they're going to call you that same word. But they're the ones... What was this joke? There was a golf joke in here too. What was the golf joke? Damn it, I forgot. I had a good golf joke too. What was the golf joke? I mean, I'm fascinated by this. How can the right wing take this stuff and the left wing isn't going to put two and two together? They're never going to be like, hey, Trump's pouring gay juice on America, which he is. He's an actor. He's pouring gay juice. He lies right out of his mouth. But, you know, I'm not saying the Democrats can do that either. But I don't know what these people do not see in this. It's like, oh my God. Is that the end of this? What was the end of this? There was one about paradigm shifts. Paradigm shifts? You want to do paradigm shifts? Yes. We'll do paradigm shifts. You can throw in like the theater kids in high school. Isn't that a meme? Like theater kids in high school? Isn't that the Is that a euphemism for the gays or something? I guess, I don't know. Appearance-based society. Oh, yeah, there you go, narcissism. Oh, I don't know. Winner take all. Okay, so let's change the subject to paradigm shifts. You sure you don't want to finish this? Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. The old kings, they were pretty gay. They would do all this ceremony shit. What's up with the ceremony stuff of the old 16, 17, 1800 years kings? It was always like, we're going to dress up real pretty. Think of like Hermann Goering. He had a bunch of clothes he would wear. You know, Patton did that shit too. He made a bunch of he dressed up like a fucking, whatever. Change the subject. Paradigm shifts. This is not even related to this. Paradigm. P-A-R-I-D-I-G. How do you spell paradigm? I'm just not going to put the word up there if I can't spell it. Paradigm. P-A-R-I-D-I-G-M. Shift. The human brain can handle like 2 paradigm shifts maybe. And then after that, you're fucked. I was born in '86. I had a Nintendo. When I was a kid, I had a Super Nintendo. Probably elementary, middle school. The Nintendo 64 came out in 96? 96? 97? I was 10 years old. Nintendo 64 was in 96 and 97. I didn't have one, but I know what it is. Computers. Early internet. Pre-2000 internet. Had pre-2000 internet. Early pre-2000 internet. So the paradigm in those days was the internet was shit. If you had a Nintendo and you wanted to know how to beat a level, you'd have to get a magazine or a book and read it. Now you can learn how to beat any video game. There used to be a game called Game FAQs. That was around high school, Game FAQs. And that was a SCSI, whatever. And that was like a little text, but it would tell you how to beat the game. They'd draw maps using a SCSI, a SCSI. So the paradigm, pre-2000, I did that in high school too. I still use Game FAQs in 2003 or 4. 2008, 7, maybe 7, 8. You get the iPhone. Now every fucking loser in the world has the internet at all times. The internet used to be better. It used to be 50% of the people. Now it's 95% of people. Most of you people need to get the fuck off the internet. You're too fucking stupid to be on there. Get the fuck off the internet. Get the fuck off the internet. There should be like an IQ test. If you've got below 105 IQ, you shouldn't be allowed on the internet. In my opinion, kind of maybe 110. Let's say 110. That would never work. That's very elitist. It's very snobby. Whatever. Thank you, Steve Jobs, you fucking asshole. Asshole. He's dead. Got a cancer. He's poisoned probably. Paradigm shift. Now, anywhere I'm at, this is a prepaid cell phone I bought for $100, and then I tried to return it a month later. They wouldn't accept it back, but I keep it because I can put movies and TV shows, and it's got a hard drive, and I can watch movies. When I was a kid, this would be like $5,000. If I was in 1990, this was unheard of tech. And this is a $100 prepaid cell phone from the year 2022. And you can watch movies on it. That's crazy. You can listen to music on it. I bought a Nomad, had a 40 gig hard drive. I spent $250 or $350 on a 40 gig Zune Nomad back in 2006. It was this thick. It weighed 5 times as much, and it only played music. It was like an iPhone, but it was an off-brand iPhone. So if you have a question, you want to know what year was George Washington born, you can ask your little stupid cell phone now. It's a paradigm shift. Things that used to be trivia, now everybody knows all trivia. If you have a question, you can have any trivial question answered now. which is, I don't know if that's good or bad. Does it really matter what year George Washington was born? If I asked my phone right now, I'd forget it as soon as I learned it, because I don't really give a shit what year he was born. Paradigm shift. All information is now easy to get. At least shitty information. I mean, you're not going to make any money knowing what year George Washington was born. Probably. The new paradigm shift is AI. So that was Internet 1.0, Internet 2.0, probably. I don't know. It's more complicated than that. Or is this? Well, Internet 3.0 will be, I'm probably misusing this, it's probably Internet 4.0. AI. Madly in love with it. And I'll tell you why I'm madly in love with it. I would never watch my own YouTube videos. I would refuse to. I can't stomach listening to stuff. I used to listen to Tucker Carlson, and now I just take the transcript and I throw it in ChatGPT, and I ask, what did he say? Instead of watching an hour and a half podcast, I just throw it in ChatGPT. I spend 3 minutes to 5 minutes looking it up. And it saves me a bunch of time because I cannot stomach listening to Jon Stewart laugh or Tucker Carlson do this little snickery do because I just can't handle it's called a micro emotion. They do these little micro emotions like ha 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 ha, Trump's so stupid, or ha ha ha, these people are so, I can't stomach it. I want to throw up when people do that. I need the facts. I don't want to hear your little micro emotions about how smug and smart you are. I'm not that smart, and you just make me feel really sad when you laugh or you do your little smirks. I'm allowed to do it though. So ChatGPT, AI, we'll call it a Claude, LLMs. There's Google's in there too. I don't use it, but it's 10 or 20% of the market cap probably. And this changes everything because now you can teach calculus to a fucking retard. They can do the calculus without, it's going to be somewhat, it changes it somewhat. You can throw a lot of problems at ChatGPT that, it used to take skill to do, which ties back into this. They are targeting the high-level skills first. Target high-level skills, high-level. Everyone thought it was going to be the burger flippers. They're going after the lawyers, the medicine people. Because here's the thing. When the Germans and the Russians gang-banged Poland, they both killed the upper crust. Because most of you people are followers. You kill that 5 to 10%, the rest of you people don't even have a thought in your fucking brain. Most of you don't even have the ability to think, which is, it's not really your fault that you're mindless NPCs. So you think the AI is doing it? Yeah. The AI is doing that on purpose? Maybe. And they're going to leave the low-level people to probe for the bunkers like Putin does. Putin probes for the bunkers. They need meat to probe. You gotta have those, you don't want something. Everyone thought the robots were going to be the ones no, it's going to be, they're keeping humans around to use you guys as probing mechanisms. Just kidding. Where was this going? So, paradigm shifts. I can't handle them anymore. I don't even pay attention. I just look for paradigm shifts. I'm always looking for paradigm shifts because at a certain point you stop caring and you're just like, what's the next paradigm? What's the next paradigm? You don't even I can't tell you any of the facts about any of those things. I don't even know how they work. Something about silicone. So something about breast implants. They use breast implants to take information. They put them into breast implants, and then somehow they synthesize a bunch of words and stuff, and they spend a lot of money on these silicone chips, which I thought they were supposed to be bags, but now they're chips, and then they do these big servers of silicone, and that's a big deal. And now I just don't feel anything anymore. I'm just always constantly looking for the next paradigm shift because that's all that matters. I'm I'm barely paying attention unless I see something that pops my interest. Like, how the fuck is that? Spoiler. Most of the stuff you see is just copy and paste. Most of this stuff is copy and paste. You're not seeing a lot of originality. Most of this stuff is just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. And you're looking for something new, and there's very little new in this world. It's Zelensky, Trump, both actors. They're pouring gay juice on the whole world. Are you guys going to go to war with China? Maybe you have to. Maybe you don't have to. There was another idea about. Want to do this one? Are we done with paradigms? What you call an LLM right now, 5 years from now, you won't recognize ChatGPT and Claude. This will be like comparing Five years from now, 10 years from now, your LLMs are going to be completely different. You're not going to recognize them. I can't even tell you what they're going to look like. It's going to be beyond my ability to explain. This is the bandwidth of the AI and the computers is so much more than human cognition. I can't even try and explain that if you don't know what I mean. Like, it can do stuff humans can't do. It's 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 100,000 times bandwidth. I don't know. So either the elites are going to have to control it, and they're going to use it as a form of serfdom on all you people, or the AI will take control. I don't know which one. It could be either. I can't tell you. I don't have the insider information to tell you that. I can only tell you that this is literally, I can't think of a bigger information revolution. Because like, So let's see what else. Which is why they elected, Trump as president. That's why Zelensky's president. You guys want to be entertained. You could be you're being replaced. Maybe. I don't know. Because, wrestling is about nothing really. Vince McMahon is always in charge, but the champion changes, but the champion doesn't really earn the championship. It's not like he's the best working, but he's not going to. The champion does not act. This is not the 90s when Stone Cold Steve Austin would beat the shit out of Vince McMahon and takes over the WWF. It was all acting. It's all fake. It's, Stone Cold Steve Austin would beat the shit out of Vince McMahon, but that's not really how the world works. It's all fake. It's all acting. So that's why you got a WWF star / actor as president, because it's not real. None of this is real anymore. It's pretty fake. It's a caste. It could be a caste system. It could be, because the whole point is, look, you either own something or you're a faggot. That's my opinion. And they're pouring gay juice on America, so that's probably how it's going to end up being. But that's how it always was. So I'm going to take that word. I think that word should be taken. I think 90% of you Americans, most of these people in this world are pretty disgusting. Disgusting. A lot of people in this world are way too confident when they literally are in the service industry and are literally dick-sucking faggots. The end. Yeah, that's the end. Is that the end? Want to do anything else? Paradigm shifts, LLMs, 5 years. It's fun enough. Good enough for now.